All right, so we've gone over our single note playing, our major scale. We've gone over some variations with the Mixolydian mode, if you remember that from harmonica. We've gone over major harmony, our 1 chord, our 4 chord, and 5 chord. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to take you through a collection of what people call cowboy chords. So for the key of C, for the key of G, for the key of D, for the key of A, for the key of all of these different keys, there are 1 chord, 4 chord, and 5 chord chords that we can learn, and that you're probably already familiar with if you've ever tried to look into playing guitar before, or if you've ever been going on Google for some reason. You're like, oh, let me look up guitar chords. I don't know why you would do that, but maybe you have. Or you had a friend that had a poster that had a bunch of guitar chords, and you're like, huh, that's interesting. Well, what I would like to do is walk you through those chords now. Just some basic chords first, and then we'll get a little bit more complicated later. One thing that's really, really helpful to remember is these chords are going to teach you how to kind of maneuver up and down the neck later. So just getting these hand shapes is a really big deal. I can't stress enough how big of a deal it is to know your hand shapes. And because I'm super tempted to talk about that, let's get into actually playing the chords. So we've learned a little bit about our C major triad. But if we want to complete that C major chord, it will be something like this. Or what I'm actually doing is I'm putting my ring finger on the 3rd fret of string 5, my middle finger on the 2nd fret of string 4. I'm playing an open 3rd string, and my pointer finger is playing on the 1st fret of string 2. And I'm only strumming that from string 5 to string 1. Very pretty. Sorry, my guitar's a little out of tune. Now, let's move on to another very, very popular and famous chord. All of these chords are, but you've probably heard this all over the place. This is our G major chord. Now, there are some variations with the G major chord or a G major chord shape. The way that I'm playing it, it is a little bit different than how somebody else might play it or how it is notated. I want you to know that, so that if you see a diagram and you're like, wait, that's not a G. I've already had that argument with someone before. It is, but it's just another variation where we're focusing on other notes. Anyway, so those notes and the finger position is G on the 3rd fret of string 6, pointer finger on the 2nd fret of string 5, then an open 4th string, open 3rd string, ring finger on the 3rd fret of string 2, and the pinky on the 3rd fret of string 1. Now, I really like that fingering. I like this variation, but you'll find it commonly without the ring finger down, and you'll get something like that. For me personally, I don't know why it bugs my ear. It just does. But if it doesn't bug your ear, that's okay. You enjoy that. And if a song called for it and you need that note, that open B, then it's actually the chord you want to go for, or at least the finger you want to go for. But that's our G major chord. Now, going into another shape, if we play a D major chord, the way I like to play it is open 4th string, ring finger on, or sorry, pointer finger on the 2nd fret of string 3, ring finger on the 3rd fret of string 2, and middle finger on the 2nd fret of string 1. Now if you want to get fancy and you have some good thumb dexterity for some reason, God has blessed you, you can also like fill out this chord by putting your thumb on the 2nd fret of string 6. And it sounds very full. And to just get a little nerdy, that would be the 3rd that we're playing there. Moving on, now let's get into our E major chord. This is going to be a really, really important chord if you're playing blues. All of these chords are important. I'm just sounding silly by saying that. The shape is what I mean, is a very important shape, especially if you're going to get into certain styles of music here. This chord shape is going to be open on the 6th string, ring finger on the 2nd fret of string 5, middle finger on the 2nd fret of string 4, pointer finger on the 1st fret of string 3, and open 2nd string and 1st string. Now there are multiple ways that you can actually fret that. This is the way that's like very comfortable for me because I want to have my pinky free, just in case I want to use it for other notes and other chords that have those pinky notes. So that's E major. Let's move on to A major. Now this one can be tricky and there are all sorts of ways you can play it, and that's the way, or the reason why I call it tricky. But at least for our purposes, I want you to understand all the notes are going to be in line on the 2nd fret, where we're playing the chord open 5th, pointer finger on the 2nd fret of string 4, middle finger on the 2nd fret of string 3, and ring finger on the 2nd fret of string 2, then open 1st string. Very, very, very pretty. And as far as I'm concerned, that's all the chords, the cowboy chords that we're learning for now, are major cowboy chords. Now, to focus on some minor shapes, I want to start with E major real quick because it's going to be easy for us to make this transition from E major to E minor, because all we're going to have to do is drop one note. Ring finger on the 2nd fret of string 5, middle finger on the 2nd fret of string 4, pointer finger on the 1st fret of string 3. Now, in order to get that E minor, we're just going to lift our pointer finger. And then we're there. This note was our major 3rd. Now we're just dropping it. And if you want to have a little bit of fun, you can mess around with that. And that's the blues. Or at least one facet of it. That's our E minor chord. Now, if we want to play our A minor chord, remember our A major chord, where we're playing open 4th, for our A major chord, we're playing open 5th, pointer finger on the 2nd fret of string 4, middle finger on the 2nd fret of string 3, and ring finger on the 2nd fret of string 2. Now the same is going to be true for when we're playing a major to a minor. We're going to drop the 3rd. In this case, we're going to be dropping the 2nd fret of string 2 to the 1st fret of string 2. And we'll get this, where I'm playing with my middle finger on the 2nd fret of string 4, ring finger on the 2nd fret of string 3, and pointer finger on the 1st fret of string 2. And I'm strumming this from string 5 to 1. Now, with those chords, you're going to be able to play a lot of music, especially if you're playing in the key of G, if you're playing in the key of D, if you're playing in the key of G, if you're playing in the key of A, and if you're playing in the key of A minor, I want to say, but I think I might be wrong there. Yeah, I'm wrong there, but there's quite a bit of music that you can already play right off the bat, especially if you have a capo, but that's another thing altogether. Let's go over the chords one more time. Here's C major. Here's G major. Here's D major. Here's E major. Here's A major. Here's E minor. And here's A minor. Cool. And that'll prepare you for our next lesson. Just for those out there that might be like very new to guitar, like this is great. For people that are like a little bit more advanced or know these shapes already, and you might be asking like, okay, well, why didn't you play a B power chord, or why didn't you play an F major chord? Well, I consider those a little bit more challenging and difficult. So I'd like to get into those a little bit later, but by practicing these chords, they will help you as a guitar player now be able to develop the dexterity to continue and get into the other shapes, as far as I'm concerned. But that's been our cowboy chord, or you could just think about it as like your basic acoustic open chord voicings. And yeah, I hope this has been a lot of fun for you. God bless you, and Lord willing, I will see you in the next lesson.